Well, just in case you missed it, InfoWars was on the ground live, covering every piece of action imaginable on the Washington, D.C. grounds as the inauguration was taking. One video shows a man frustrated with anti-fascists blocking a street in Washington, D.C., and one of these fascists punches the man in the face before being attacked. The incident taking place on Friday during Trump's inaugural speech. The video starts with an unnamed man, let's call him Thor, asking the Antifada stooges if they're going to prevent him from going to work because they're crying, you know what. Then they seem to have lost it with the word war. Yes, pretty much a masked female responds, come on, babe, let the ladies through, at which point some of the women pass. Now, this guy rushes behind the women and turns around and says, F you, your roadblocks are expletive. And then she responds by attacking him. Yes, she punches him right in the face. Looks like these protesters that are part of the Women's March after the inauguration were just as bad. Catch us here for all of the action. I'm Margaret Hell reporting for Infowars.com.
It's not just our water we need to filter. It's not just our food that needs to be clean. It's the air we're breathing, especially for our children. The artificial particulates, the chemicals, is absolutely weighing down our immune systems. The same team based right here in America that brought you the Alexa Pure groundbreaking water filtration systems have now developed Alexa Pure Breeze. Whether it's your home or office, you owe it to yourself, your coworkers, your family, your children to do the best job you can to purify your air. The elite are masters at poisoning our environment while themselves doing things that mitigate or avoid most of the toxic effects for themselves. The general public doesn't. The Alexa Pure Breeze would be a steal at $300, $400, $500. One of these systems can keep 800 square feet incredibly clean. This is a system I'm personally putting in throughout my house, replacing older, more expensive filters that didn't do as good a job. Find out why this system is so revolutionary today at InfoWarsStore.com.
This is Alex Jones. I want to tell you about a way to save a lot of money on one of the best new off-the-grid products of 2017. And seriously, I really think everyone should have one of these. I'm talking about the PPX solar generator system from our friends at Solutions from Science, one of our oldest sponsors. The PPX is so small you can put it in your pocket, but so powerful you can run some 110 appliances at your house, like a small refrigerator, so you can keep food from spoiling. Plus, you can take it with you to jumpstart cars, trucks, buses, 18-wheelers, heavy equipment, even airplanes. The system provides an endless supply of off-the-grid electricity, allowing you to create your own private power grid, literally anywhere in the world. Perfect for cabins, remote locations, anytime you need to get off the grid for a while. Go to privatepowergrid.com to watch this thing in action. That's privatepowergrid.com. Even better, use coupon code PRIVATE at checkout and get a second PPX energy unit for free. Check it out at privatepowergrid.com. That's privatepowergrid.com.
We now take you live to the Central Texas Command Center in the heart of the resistance, rallying patriots worldwide. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
So, Trump is going after the corrupt vaccine makers that have been caught poisoning the general public. He's also looking into not giving experimental vaccines to folks in the military. That's part of the whole commission that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to head up. Trump is, again, helped buoy through Trump euphoria, the stock market, past 20,000. In fact, if you can pull it up on screen, let's look where it is right now. And so many other just incredibly positive things. Huge factories coming back, being announced every other day. And the media is selling it like Trump is abandoning America. Trump is trying to hurt America. Trump is doing the opposite. The Dow is now at 20,060.85. Trump is doing the opposite. He's saying we're going to rebuild our infrastructure. We're going to stand up for our interest. That doesn't mean the United States won't be involved in the world, but we're not going to pay for multinational corporations to go take over third world countries, exploit their labor, and then ship in their crap to destroy American jobs. We're not going to let foreign multinationals controlling federal regulators steal our jobs by openly setting up regulations that make it impossible to do business in this country unless you're an insider. They've chosen what areas of the country they want to develop. The globalists have. And they've decided that the Midwest and other areas are to be depopulated. That's official. That's what Obama signed into law with his whole Rural Affairs Commission that the Pentagon would head up under Agenda 21 to force integrate city people into the country. And basically set up Black Lives Matter type scenarios all over the nation. I mean, this is so incredibly diabolical what's going on. And it was so evil that because you exposed it and other people exposed it, it's now burning up and collapsing in flames so fast. Now, Trump has pointed out that the Vatican has walls. He's pointed out that China has a great wall and a wall on its coastline. He's pointed out that we've paid for walls in Iraq, walls in Afghanistan, walls in Macedonia. The United States has paid for hundreds of walls, well, thousands of smaller walls, but hundreds of walls in different nations along borders. And now, under Obama, they've been paying to take down those walls and bring all the jihadis into Europe. And so Trump's pointed out to Mexico, you have a continual wall on your southern border. It never ends. It never stops. You have areas that are accessible by humans on the Guatemala border. You have helicopters. You have armored vehicles. You have military. I've been there. I've seen it. Well, we're going to do the same thing on our border. It's completely out of control and lawless, and there are over 250,000 aggravated felons in the United States from all over Europe, all over Asia, all over Russia, Latin America, Canada, you name it. We don't care what color you are or where you came from. If you are a felon or aggravated felon and you're in this country and you get picked up, you are being put on an airplane and your butt is being flown back to the country that is waiting for you, many times criminal charges. The United States is not a dumping ground for miscreants. Also, we're not going to have the anchor baby status anymore. He's getting ready in the next 2 days to announce that. It's been announced. Where you don't just come here and have a kid free and then everything's paid for and they become a citizen. It's the Chinese that have now outpaced Mexico in doing that. We are a joke. And again, they try to bully us into submission as we go bankrupt. You will pay for it. You will do it. It's the right thing to do. I didn't get to it yesterday. There was a clip on Tucker Carlson. There's another one out today where the communist on the program is saying, oh, well, America's racist. So that's why you have to let more people in. You have to prove that you're not racist. And Carlson says to him, because they all have the same talking point, these liberal groups, well, if we're totally white supremacists, why then have we become a non-white population in most areas? And it's going to be totally reversed within 20 years. See, Trump and everybody else is just trying to get an American birthright to anybody that comes here who actually wants to be an American. Instead, the globalists want to turn you into a mental patient running around screaming and yelling, you're an effing white male, and calling for socialism and calling for the American dream to be welfare. So you can be completely conditioned and controlled. Trump's also calling for a major investigation into voter fraud, which was organized by the Democrats, so it became election fraud. And I have an entire stack of news I want to cover right now, documenting the fact that Pew Research and ICE and so many other organizations have found that what Trump is saying is actually not even 10% of how bad it is. It's worse than what President Trump is saying. And just like they told us we could never have President Trump, they never told us we could get out of the TPP, they never told us we could get out of Obamacare, they never told us. Yeah, they told us over and over and over again that it was impossible to ever reverse any of this. And 5 days in, it's on fire, and more than 10% of the globalist agenda is already gone. It's happening much quicker than I thought, but it's a blitzkrieg approach of just overwhelming the enemy, Trump hitting him with all of his energy and delegating. You notice Saturday, as soon as Mattis had been confirmed as Secretary of Defense, that a whole bunch of targets across Syria got bombed, big command and control bases that Obama had been protecting, as Trump told the CIA, the gloves are off. Target all Al-Qaeda. Target all ISIS, because what Obama would do was sit there over every little target and, of course, protect them, because he was only basically intimidated by being exposed into targeting any of the targets. So a lot of the top leaders are being killed as we speak. Those stories are up on screen. But remember that we challenged Trump months before the election, the final election. Last year, we said they will engage in fraud. Homeland Security is trying to take over the election. They will bust in the illegals. Project Veritas caught them on tape. Democrats bragged about it in newspapers, saying if you're an illegal alien or you're a criminal or you're whatever, just go out, read the obituary, find out if somebody's dead, and the Democrats will give you a match in the local voter roll and give you a list of people to go out and vote in their stead. And they arrested people in Texas, in Colorado, in New Mexico, all over the country, in Florida, with lists of people who were dead, who were on the voter rolls. Who do you think matched up those dead people, recently dead, with voters on the voter rolls? The Democratic Party. I've got a stack of news here, but even Fox News goes, well, Trump's right that there are millions of people, millions of dead people on the voter rolls and millions of illegals that reportedly vote sometime, but there's no proof it's organized, and there's no proof it's massive. But now all of a sudden, they're having to back off and saying, well, millions of illegals probably did vote in 2016, and of all places, that's Politico. In fact, scroll back to the top of that. That's Investors Business Daily. I also saw a similar headline from Politico. So Trump knows what he's doing. He is exposing the whole Democratic Party program that's public. In 7 different states, well, 14 states are trying, but 7 actually got bills out of their legislatures in the last 2 years to have illegals vote. But none of the governors could sign it because it was so bold, it would violate federal law. But Illinois and California and other states, they passed laws that illegals could vote. They didn't say illegals. They said that anyone that's here, including migrants or immigrants, can vote. Nowhere else on earth can you just show up and vote. China, that's always criticizing us and calling us fascist, doesn't have voting. They have a Politburo and a central committee, but they have a president, so it's okay. So Trump calls for major investigation into voter fraud. And I was watching Fox News this morning, and they were saying, well, he's really wrong. I mean, millions of illegals didn't vote, even though I have Pew Research reports and Fox News pieces, but it was Fox Business, admitting the numbers were way bigger than the 2, 3, or 4, or 5 million that Trump says they think may have voted. So, of course, if the Democrats are organizing them to vote, caught on tape having them vote, people are being arrested, they're saying illegals have a right to vote, then of course this should be investigated. But they act like nothing's happening. All over the country, they're calling it civil rights to not show your ID when you vote. They want you to show your ID when you do everything else. Paul Watson wrote a key report on it. 3 million votes in presidential election cast by illegal aliens, and he goes over the fact. We should retweet that article at Trump, because so many times when he comes out with his statements, he doesn't really go over the evidence. And I understand it's hard to do that in a tweet. Spicer, by the way, who's getting more hardcore, has been doing that. And speaking of Spicer, let's go to the Communist News Network covering one of his press conferences.
He stated his concerns of voter fraud and people voting illegally during the campaign, and he continues to maintain that belief based on studies and evidence that people have presented to him.
Press Secretary Sean Spicer doubling down on the president's claim, but repeatedly unable to point to evidence that backs up the charge that has been debunked by Republicans and Democrats alike.
You said the president believes that there was voter fraud. I wonder if you believe that. You were at the Republican National Committee at the time, and Chief of Staff Reince Priebus was the chairman of the RNC at the time. Do you believe there was widespread voter fraud?
My job is not, look,
how can he be comfortable with his win if he believes
he's very comfortable with his win?
3 million votes. Maybe he didn't win.
No, he's very comfortable with his win. It's an electoral-based system. You got 306 electoral votes, 33 or 50.
Let's back this up for a second, but I just want to make a point here. The same Republican Party that ganged up on Trump and said that he was crazy and evil and bad are the ones that said that there was no evidence of any voter fraud. So they know when they're up there saying all this that it's garbage. And they're also saying, oh, Trump isn't comfortable with his win. And so that's why he's doing this. No, he's trying to secure voting rights in this country for citizens and not letting the globalists who are using massive immigrant invasions as a tool to overthrow countries. He's trying to defend the integrity and sovereignty, and Trump knows that top election fraud experts have reported that at least 5 states were stolen from him, and that Hillary tried and failed in 6 other states where Homeland Security was caught hundreds of times per state trying to break into the computers on Election Day. There's another headline: illegal immigrants could elect Hillary. Please print me that as well. That's Politico. Again, there's this leftist, globalist, elitist operating system where they admit their plan for illegals to overthrow Trump, and they admit they're getting him to vote, and we have them on all these videos, and election officials in New York admitting the massive fraud plan, and we have the WikiLeaks memos, and we have them admitting that they're planning to do it. Then we catch them doing it. President Trump, when he was a candidate, comes out and exposes it, and has been proven right, and then he's the bad guy, and a bunch of surly, elitist, arrogant press corps people who aren't even real press come out and say, oh, he doesn't feel legitimate. He won the Electoral College. He would have won in a bigger landslide and would have won the popular vote, clearly losing by 2 million votes to Hillary if this hadn't been the case of your fraud. And by the way, all 50, that's 50, ladies and gentlemen, 50, all 50 state attorney generals have written letters, that includes Democrats, to Trump saying, please reverse the executive actions of Obama, saying that elections are now federal. That's scary. That's not supposed to work that way. Remember, Obama said, whenever I brought it up, oh, that crazy guy in Texas, we don't run the elections, don't worry. They were sure trying, but doing it by stealth didn't work. So Trump's been proven correct, so they're crapping their drawers right now. Literally. And trying to make it look illegitimate that Trump knows what really went on. Let's go back to the tape.
He's comfortable with his win if he believes
he's very comfortable with his win.
3 million votes. Maybe he didn't win.
No, he's very comfortable with his win. It's an electoral-based system. He got 306 electoral votes. 33 of 50 states voted for him. I think, look, Jeff, I've asked him to answer this question twice. He believes what he believes based on the information that he provided. Yes.
Trump has got a good idea to kick most of these people out because these aren't real reporters. Look at that little surly guy. He thinks he's arrived because he's arrogant. He'll do what he's told. He'll spin. Did you hear him say maybe he didn't win? Spicer's talking over him, but he says, maybe, why is he not securing his victory? Maybe he didn't win. Oh, just like they had recounts and he got more votes back than Hillary did? 10-1 or more? Oh, just like she lost electors. She lost 5, he lost 2 in that initiative? Yeah, there it is. CNN reporter on Trump. Maybe he didn't win. But don't worry, let's have CNN front row seats right there. Let's not have a Drudge correspondent, a Breitbart, and InfoWars at least even mixed in. And look, I'm not criticizing it. Quite frankly, I don't even want to be in there. We probably do need to set up a bureau just to cover what's happening there and all our sources and go to some of these just for optics. But we're taking back the country. That's why we're here in Austin. We're taking back the country, reaching out to the people and doing the hard work, not sitting in there being arrogant so people around the water cooler at failing CNN, I'm skipping this break, so people at failing CNN, joke CNN, totally discredited CNN, and go, oh, good job saying maybe he wasn't even elected. Oh, see, Trump comes in, he's elected, but says, I'm going to secure our voting because the Democrats have got all these illegals voting. We've caught them doing it. And this guy's so arrogant, he says maybe Trump didn't even win. And then that's news because this guy's wearing a $3,000 suit and, wearing the little black-rimmed glasses and acting like an intellectual. He's so smart because they all say together, there's no evidence of fraud, no evidence of illegals, just 7 states passing out of their houses laws for illegals to vote and illegals being caught everywhere and Democrats caught commanding the illegals, but it's not really illegals that are the big issue. They're part of it. It's mainly Democrats with lists of dead voters running around. My estimates are that's 3-1 that. And of course, when Trump says he wants an investigation, he means executive branch to codify. Don't worry, Mr. President. I've asked Paul Watson, and I'll do it as well. In the next 48 hours, I'm going to shoot a detailed bullet report showing each admission, each arrest, documents, where they're doing it, the laws, how they admitted, how the UN's calling for it. The UN called last year for America to accept, quote, migrants voting. Germany's moving to let, quote, migrants vote. Some German cities let people who got off the plane one day vote. Oh, but there's none of this happening. None of this is going on, ladies and gentlemen. There are no dead people voting. Even though they're bragging, illegals and dead people are what's going to beat Trump. Hillary's got a secret weapon. The illegals you don't like, Trump. Sorry, the legal people that are here, the people that happen to be Hispanic or Russian or African that have become citizens, they get what's happening, and they want a piece of the American pie, and they know Trump is addressing it, and they voted for him in record numbers. That's why your giant election fraud failed. You stole 5 states, and still you failed. You hit Roger Stone with polonium, still you failed. You threw everything you had at us, but still you failed. How'd you like us sending out all the people to scream rape at your events? Think that helps you a little bit? That was nothing. We had tactics 10 times more hardcore that were legal, ready to be used, but we knew the internal polls were showing we were going to beat you. So if you really want the gloves off, if you think your army of a bunch of screaming, ugly harpies wearing pink condoms on their heads scares us, got nothing coming. It scares us you've turned them into such slobs, such entitled fools. But it doesn't scare us of the outcome. We're going to win. And get ready. We finally have somebody in the executive branch that isn't out to get America and doesn't care what you think or say and knows that you're a pack of colluding, sycophantic vampires. Now let's go back to this little vampire turd, pile of garbage, whatever his name is, who says maybe he kind of on his breath. Maybe he didn't win. Maybe he didn't win. So see, Trump's crazy to say he won by more, but this guy with no proof, the same CNN that said that the crowd was 10%, total lie, or that they got rid of the bust of Martin Luther King, total lie. These people are just outrageous enemies of this country. Let's go back to it.
For democracy, though, Sean, what does that mean?
Jeff.
If he does believe that, what does that mean for democracy?
It means that I've answered your question.
Have you?
The allegations of voter fraud, which Trump has repeatedly made before taking office, surfaced again after the president repeated that claim Monday night while meeting with congressional leaders at the White House.
I think he won very, very handily. He's very comfortable with his win.
But he doesn't sound like it. He won the Electoral College but lost the popular vote by nearly 3 million. He charged that 3 to 5 million people voted illegally, a claim as unsubstantiated as when he first made it after the election. But now it carries the weight of the presidency. To back up the allegations, his advisors have pointed to a 2012 study by the Pew Center. It found nearly 3 million people have voter registrations in more than one state, and nearly 2 million people are listed as dead. But the study made no finding of voter fraud.
All right, let's stop right there. CNN's done it again. The same ones that showed the crowd coming in at 8:30 and then cut it and showed the crowd going out later. You see the crowd change to lie to the public, just like PBS did, just like Young Turks did, all deceiving you. We have the Pew Research report, and Fox had it on Fox Business a few months ago, and the numbers are way bigger. Those were only numbers in one part of the study. The numbers are in the tens of millions. But what the experts believe are voting is 2 to 3 million illegals and 3 to 5 million, quote, dead people. Now, you add that together, conservatively, there's 5, 6, 7, 8 million people that are voting, and we know who does this. This is Democrats. So Trump could probably say he really won by 6, 7 million. He's being conservative, so he knows when the research is done, it'll be more than what he said. Undocumented America, the truth of illegal immigration. Let's go ahead and play the report on the Pew Research.
According to Pew, 24 million people, 1 of every 8, voter registrations in the U.S. are no longer valid or significantly inaccurate. More than 1.8 million dead people are listed as voters. So you could use that name to go ahead and vote. Approximately 2.75 million people, 2.75 million people are registered in more than one state. So that outlines, I think, the possibility of voter fraud.
All right, now let's go ahead and go to the actual facts. You can go to Paul Joseph Watson's article. He links to all the actual facts, federal statistics, you name it. 3 million votes in presidential election cast by illegal aliens. Trump may have won popular vote. November 14, 2016. Bev Harris, top expert, big liberal. She said, coming on the show, clear evidence in 5 states of impossible numbers for Hillary. Her getting 100% in precincts, or having, massive amounts come in only for her right as they were closing, and that there were evidence of 5 states being stolen, probably more. So see, we're not even looking at states they stole or electronically manipulated, because there's a lot of evidence of that. We're just looking at the illegals voting. So there's that article. Here's another one out of Bloomberg. Some cities want their non-citizen immigrants to vote, and they've caught those cities in 14 different states letting them vote because there's no IDs needed in, 20-something states. So what do you think happens? The Democrats bust you around with a list of dead people. It's all about the dead people on the rolls. There needs to be a law at every state level that when somebody dies, that an email is sent and a program, and they are removed from the rolls. That's the way to fix this. It's all folks who are dead, most of them conservatives and patriots. Imagine for 4 or 5 years still on the voter rolls, sometimes longer, with people stealing their identity and stealing their right as a citizen to vote. So, that's Bloomberg. They want the illegals to vote, but none of them voted. Third time a charm. Fox News, San Francisco to try yet again to give illegal immigrants voting rights. San Francisco moves to open voting for illegals. There's some articles too, you can pull them up, where states passed it out of their houses. I remember covering those. 2 investigators, Chicago voters cast ballots from beyond the grave. CBS News. U.S. elites buying New Zealand redoubts. That's coming up. And then Ron Paul's coming up. We'll break down this and so much more. But I got to say, I am wildly pleased by Trump. This is pure Americana. This is the return of the republic. Things got so bad that we now identify the clear enemies, what their programs are, and we're resisting them. I want to thank you all for your support. This is a listener-supported transmission. Please check out the products at InfoWarsStore.com. You need the very best gravity-fed systems out there, from the Alexa Pure to the Pro Pure to many more. They're all apples and oranges, but some are better in some ways or worse than others. They're all excellent, all the highest quality. InfoWarsStore.com. We have auto ship for anybody that signs up for things that are perishable or reusable, like the nutraceuticals, the supplements. Get an additional 10% off when you order for that. There's also free shipping on all orders, $50 or more at InfoWarsStore.com. And boy, the Donald Trump lithograph 2,000 prints sold out before I could ever raise the price. We're going to reprint, obviously, as soon as he does another portrait. More limited edition, but thank you all for your support. That helps fund our operation, and boys, are going to look good hanging in your house on the parchment paper. And this is kind of white parchment. We're going to reprint in a kind of a yellower parchment, but I think this looks good. We're going to bring in Ronald Reagan as well, George Washington, and John Wayne, just to piss them off. This is something we're going to do because they hate seeing these images of Americana, and we are going to make it fashionable again, liberty fun again, and that's what's happening. They hate it. Also, we have an emergency shipment of DNA Force now back in stock. I am still offering 10% off on that, but a lot of stuff is sold out. InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. You get great products, and you fund the spearhead of the fight for human liberty. It's a total 360 win. I salute you all. Hour 2, 70 seconds out.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Dr. Group, you developed Living Defense for us. It took you over a year to do it. Why is this so good?
Because people are actually waking up to the problem that pretty much scares me the most. I mean, I try to make sure that I don't put toxins from food and water and beverages in my system. But right now we're dealing with massive parasites, which is anything that's harmful to your body that lives off a host mechanism. Right now with all the refugees, spreading disease around. We have biological warfare going on everywhere. These are all parasites.
Tell us about all the stuff that's in it. There's so many things that are in it.
You have the neem in there. You have the organic clove bud, the organic wormwood. I recommend doing a parasite cleanse at least twice a year.
All right. Well, I'm glad we've got some back in because I'm going back on it today. It just came back in yesterday. Living Defense, InfoWarsLife.com. And folks, you can't lose. It's full of stuff that's great for your body, period. And you support the broadcast, InfoWarsLife.com. Thank you, Dr. Group from the Global Healing Center. Thank you so much for all your work, sir, on this great product.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want to stop tyranny? Well, so does he. Live from the Infowars.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
I knew Trump had something 2+ years ago when the elites were in conniption fits of hatred against him. And they really did everything they could to stop him, and it blew up in their face. They have collapsed. They are discredited. But they do have some cards still up their sleeves, and we've got to really be watching for them to try to throw sand in our eyes. Now, there's a story up on drudgereport.com on the left-hand side. U.S. elites buying New Zealand redoubts to escape crack-up civilization. Very, very important article. Now, again, we've harped on this quite a bit, but I'm glad that the press is starting to pick up on this more, because the fact that they have been exiting the last 6, 7, 8 years so quickly to not just New Zealand, but the Cook Islands, to Hawaii, they're not doing this because they don't want to be in the center of things. The elites want to be in Paris, they want to be in Rome, they want to be in London, they want to be in New York, they want to be in LA, where it's happening. They're doing it because there's a very, very good chance that we could see substantive societal breakdown. And again, I don't say that to be a fearmonger. I have 3 children. Most historians, most military analysts said we were getting very close to nuclear war with Russia. Isn't it a sigh of relief now that threat has subsided a little bit? Well, the elite aren't slowing down their exodus. And this article breaks it down. Wealthy Americans fear impending civil war in the homeland. Wealthy Americans are preparing for possible U.S. collapse or revolt by the poor and buying properties in New Zealand, the New Yorker magazine reported. According to writer Evan Osnos. I love how we learned about it from the New Yorker now. I told you 8 years ago that elites were moving to New Zealand to get away from of a collapse. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. It means they're being told things in their elite circle that make them think this. That's why that's important. According to the report, preppers from Silicon Valley, like Zuckerberg, and New York are getting ready for the crack-up civilization while they fund Black Lives Matter, all the major Fortune 100, while they fund the communist groups, while they fund the groups that went out and beat up Trump supporters. I was there. It's so outrageous. They are funding civil unrest in Ukraine, in the Middle East, in Europe. The videos pour in every day of people in Sweden, women being gang raped by Muslims, or in Spain, a woman was wearing a bracelet that just said Spain on it, and a bunch of men beat her half to death. And then the local socialist member of the local town council went on TV and said, this woman is a monster and a pig. You can go read the quotes. She deserves it. But whether you love her or hate her, since when is it okay for the left to beat up women? I mean, I witnessed it where bleeding women were walking by me on the street. They kept telling me, we're being attacked by Black Lives Matter. And I went down there and it was like 90% white women. And little weird white guys. And then a few whacked out black guys. Beating people up. Screaming, you're an effing white male, as they beat up Hispanic and Asian women particularly. Because they flip out. They get triggered by somebody that has any color in their skin going to a Trump rally. I mean, how would a black New York Times reporter get in? They were so dumbed down that even attacked people like that, reporters trying to get in. Or people going, hey, I'm going to work. See, I got a badge. No, you're not going to work. This is the craziness of these people. So that report breaks it all down, that they are really hightailing it. They want to have places where they're safe. when they organize the Civil War if they need to. Here's the deal. We know you're behind it, so don't think you're going to get away with this and that you won't be touched, whether it's in Kauai or New Zealand. Understand that, Zuckerberg, and the rest of you.
ABC has the first one-on-one interview with President Trump, and they are taking ownership of what should be public information, listing unprecedented restrictions on the publishing of that information. They put limits on how long the excerpts can be. They put a time limit on how long material can be used. No material may be used after February the 1st. They're mandating on-screen credits and on and on. Understand what's going on. For political and financial reasons, the mainstream media is trying to maintain a monopoly on information and reporting about the president. They want to exclude friendly media so that they will control the narrative. But it's also about profits. And we can see that as ABC News lawyers up. Remember that one of the key aspects of the Trans-Pacific Partnership was the copyright issue. As InfoWars has been pointing out for a long time, copyright claims would be used to suppress freedom of speech and to control the political narrative. To quote Jim Acosta of CNN as he lectured President-elect Trump, that is not appropriate. For InfoWars.com, I'm David Knight.
National Defense Labs and Citizen Armor has given InfoWars the exclusive on distributing to the American people the true next generation in body armor.
Basically what we're bringing to the InfoWars team is a new line of dynamic, lightweight body armor. It is lighter, more flexible, easier to wear, more comfortable, and stronger than anything else on the market.
You said when you talk to people that have been using this, actually testing it for years, people that currently test it for us, they didn't just say outstanding. I mean, what did they really say about it?
They want to know, how do they get it? Where do they find it? A lot of my law enforcement official buddies want to know the same thing.
The backpack body armor is only $200.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's a 1/4 inch thick. It's got a 20-year warranty. It's waterproof. You can wear it. It's comfortable.
And we shot everything you can imagine in it. Again, fund the InfoWar. Get the game-changing nanotech tubes. It's a win-win. $200. Go check out all their different products at InfoWarsStore.com. It's amazing. A clean, toxic-free body is the foundation of true health. Deep Cleanse by InfoWarsLife.com. A scientifically formulated blend of nanocolloidal zeolites and organic ingredients that aid the body in cleansing chemicals and toxic metals. Using our proprietary multi-step extraction technology, Deep Cleanse is our most affordable all-in-one cleanser. With concentrated organic compounds like cilantro, milk thistle, fulvic acid, orange peel, zeolites, and others, Deep Cleanse doesn't hold back. Instead of buying 5, 6, or even 7 different cleansing products, we use decades-old scientific research to put together the Rolls-Royce of all-in-one cleansing. Look, there's a reason Deep Cleanse is the only product on the market that uses our proprietary Spigyrex herbal processing technique. We use only the highest quality organic herbs backed by serious research, and we still bring it to you at the best price out there. If you wish to find Deep Cleanse and experience the all-in-one cleansing, visit InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
He aligns himself with the truth, and it's time for you to choose a side. You're listening to Alex Jones.
I see your hair is burning.
You can say what you want about President Donald Trump, but he is certainly overthrowing the world order globalist system that had been established, pulling us out of TPP day one, moving to secure the borders, more and more saying he's not going to only talk to mainstream media, the stock market exploding, a lot of positive things. Now, will the new order be perfect? There's no way that's going to happen. But undoubtedly, the liberty-based, libertarian, free market, von Mises, Ron Paul movement of the last 30 years that was such a tiny voice 30-something years ago is now huge. It's got to feel good for former Congressman and, of course, medical doctor Ron Paul, fellow Texan, to see his son in the Senate leading the fight for sovereignty and anti-war and to audit the Fed and to see the anti-globalist movement being so popular, not just here, but around the world. I tell you, the worm has turned. I'm not saying we're in some utopia. There's still huge fights ahead. And I want to talk about what he's most concerned about. But I've seen Ron Paul on TV, and I thought, man, the guy looks younger. And he's joining us via HD video, and I'm like, man, you look 10 years younger. What's going on? He said, well, look, it's great not flying back and forth to Congress. That's what's great. So it is wonderful, former Congressman Paul, to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Well, where should we start today?
Well, there's so many places. Government keeps growing. That bothers me. I started out a long time ago in the 70s worrying about too much spending, too much debt, and the government's too big, and supported a lot of people along the way. And there have been a lot of promises, and generally I've been disappointed. You know, the Reagan years were the time when I was most optimistic, and yet by the end of 8 years I was pretty disappointed. The spending continued. Our presence around the world got bigger. So I keep my fingers crossed on what's going to happen with this administration, because I still hear mixed signals, you know, about what's going to happen. I worry a little bit about the connection that the new administration has with Goldman Sachs. It used to be we were worried about Goldman Sachs, but it looks like now they've gotten inside the White House, and there's something to be concerned about. And we don't know. We have to believe that Trump will continue to do what he said he wants to do. But when some of these individuals, you know, get into the Treasury and they say, hey, you know, I don't know about this art of the Fed business. That might not be a good idea. So we need, Alex, to remain vigilant and be careful and call things as we see them.
Dr. Paul, I absolutely agree with you 100%. But if you look at Bannon, who was former Goldman Sachs, he's anti-globalist, pro-America, and they're delivering. If you look at the other fellow, I mean, he's been anti-NAFTA and GATT. I mean, can't we say, though, that Trump is really trying to deliver on a lot of promises, pulling us out of TPP day one, you know, signaling that we're going to try to cut our corporate tax so we can be competitive?
Yeah, I think he's changing the whole nature of the international order. But I don't think we're going to have a less presence. When you hear him talk about going any place, every place, and we have to totally eradicate, you know, an ideological movement, which is radical Islam, you know, that's sort of like taking on communism, which was an ideological issue that we defeated without a war and without bombing anybody, and they were vicious and mean and nasty. So yes, it's a mixed bag, but I think what you're talking about is good, because the conventional international order, you know, he doesn't not seem to fit in. I think he wants to control it. But there was a time, you know, during the campaign, you and I talked about NATO, and we, you know, we don't ever get too excited about NATO and going to war for NATO, and he said some great things about that. But let's wait and see what happens, because some of his appointees sort of like NATO and have indicated that we'll go along with what they do, and as long as they follow our policy, and that's good for us to look at it that way. But that also is a red flag for other countries. But you know what I am. I'm a non-interventionist. I don't like entangling alliances. I don't want to have anything to do with NATO, United Nations. I think that's, you know, all a danger to us, and that's what I've been fighting for. So I watch carefully of the individuals who have been living under those conditions. The military people certainly have been mixed in with that a lot, too. So, and there's no indication that the military-industrial complex is going to have less influence. I'm worried about that, because they won't look at the difference between military spending and defense spending. They still talk about defense spending. I don't want to cut a penny out of defense. But I do want to slash military spending, because it's nothing more than getting us into mischief around the world and incentivizing these people to come and get us. And as long as we do that, we're going to have a problem. So I want a stronger defense by having a changed foreign policy, and also to separate the two between military and also, you know, defense. And I think Trump does say some things about, you know, cracking down on some of the waste and fraud. But I also think it's very important to know what our policies are. Are we truly the policemen of the world? And, of course, I think that's a dangerous position.
Well, he did just put a federal hiring freeze in. He did just announce all these regulations that are designed so companies can't operate are gone. And I did love one big thing he did. When he announced we're pulling out of TPP, he didn't reserve it and say he's going to, you know, oversee it with Congress and renegotiate it. He said it's unconstitutional. They had no authority to negotiate it. The president didn't. It's just dead. I mean, right there, he handed power back to Congress, back to the states, back to the people. He didn't say, oh, I'm going to renegotiate it. That's a big sign. I mean, Ron Paul, isn't it exciting? I know you're not just a cheerleader for Trump. I'm just super excited because here he is saying Americanism, not globalism. It's we the people that have the power. We're going to give the power back to you. You are what is important. We have a bunch of elites up here that are arrogant. Calling the media out for being fake. You've exposed that as well. I mean, they just do outrageous stuff. Major media said that I got arrested at the Trump rally and thrown out. No, they had communists attacking me. The police protected me. I mean, the MSM has only seemed to double down in their deception.
Well, I think you're right about the TPP. I'm delighted. I don't want to get anywhere close to that. We need to get rid of the WTO and the UN and all that other business. But, the freeze on employees of the government has been very limited because he did not put that into the military. That's all going to be expanded. So they're going to cut Social Security, which was a proposal of the OMB director, the new one, and they're going to spend more money on the military and not on national defense. So I think there's some significance there because they don't ever talk about, there are, for every 100 people we have in the military, we have 60 civilians in there. They're involved. And it's our civilians that go overseas and fight these wars. And they're the contractor. They're the Halliburtons. They're the ones that are in on the gravy train. And they're not even counted, and they're not even counted as employees. But it still costs a lot of money. So if you've been in the military and you're a grunt, and then you finally go and join Halliburton, then you get over and send it to these areas where we're still fighting. We're in 7 countries right now, and that's what I hope. If in a year from now, if we're in a lot less than 7 countries, then I'm going to say, great, move on. But right now, I'm watching carefully because I think it's really, really hard to use as an example turning around an aircraft carrier. It's very, very difficult. And the momentum of the military-industrial complex and the influence of Goldman Sachs is so great that it's going to be very, very hard.
Sure, but he did pass.
We do have hints from Trump.
Sure, but he did pass a big test when he de-escalated with Russia, says we shouldn't be massing troops on their border because that's totally illegitimate. The problem is Hillary and Obama and Kerry, they've been caught in the memos, the WikiLeaks. Kerry's been caught on tape helping create ISIS out of Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, Saudi Arabia. They have a deal with them to expand Islamic Jihad, Wahhabism worldwide. So I agree with you in your op-ed where you said, is Trump being consistent, being anti-war? But it's not war if we're cleaning up a mess that our own country created with Al-Qaeda pouring into Europe, creating a bigger crisis. I mean, isn't it just to go in there and kick them out of Syria or at least let the Russians do it?
Not from my viewpoint. This is where we can disagree because I say just come home. We've created it and being there is just going to escalate. And this whole thing, I think, and I praise Trump when I think he does right, especially with Russia. Why are these people wanting, the neocons want to stir up a fight with Russia? But why do we have to stir up a fight with China and say, well, you build a little island out there and it's a mile long and we're not going to let you do this? And that's just a threat. And I think this protectionism and threatening China and shifting gears, isn't it? You treat them all the same way. I just think that...
Well, China's been threatening to attack the U.S. Sure. But I mean, China's been... Here's the thing. We have agreements with China, and this is the old global order. It's falling apart. But the reason Trump's making his point is the old global order, the globalist setup was already falling apart. China had the deal for exclusive rare earth minerals and manufacturing. We were going to let them dominate that. We would dominate military. They broke that deal. I disagree, as you do, with the whole deal they've had, since Nixon. So what do we put in place of that? I don't want world order. I don't want a world government. But how do we not let the normal evil forces come in then and take advantage of the chaos?
But the people that are dealing with it, there's a mess over in Ukraine and we precipitated it. Just get out of there and let the local people support this out. But this whole idea about China and worrying about China attacking, and I say, they have one aircraft carrier, and we spend so much. We spend more money than the next 10 countries together. And yet we're still, you're right in criticizing this preparation for war against Russia, and Trump wants to settle that down. That's very good. But why transfer it? That's Kissinger's position. Keep the Chinese fighting with the Russians and separate the two, because we don't want them to be allies. So now our position is to go after the Chinese. You know, I was in high school when the Chinese were fighting and killing people, including one of my teachers who went over to Korea. And it's so much different now. I think we should trade. There's never been any interruption in the South China Sea with.
Well, I agree. I don't want war with sir. I don't want war. I don't want war with China at all. I don't like them. I don't like them buying up Hollywood and trying to control what we do here. Let me bring this up though, because it deals with the press and attacks on freedom. There's a big call for Trump to move to repeal the law that Obama signed, federalizing media, putting the CIA over it. This Truth Department at the State Department. There's also all 50 state attorney generals have asked him to not let Homeland Security federalize elections. You're a constitutionalist. You're more of an expert than probably any of us on this. I mean, isn't it already super unconstitutional to have the federal government over the media, A? And then B, what about this whole thing where they're calling for Homeland Security? Well, they've done it to federalize elections.
Yeah, and that's why I fear, that we're militarizing the Department of Homeland Security. I think and you know darn well what I thought of Homeland Security after 9/11. I voted adamantly opposed to the Department of Homeland Security. Now it's bigger than ever. So, and the CIA, if you're a strict constitutionalist, you allow the gathering of intelligence, but you don't allow the cloak and dagger stuff, where the CIA works with the special forces and goes around the world. And believe me, that is going to accelerate, because we're going to go anywhere, every place that there's a suspect, not where we've proven anything, but he's suspected that he could commit terrorism, that we're going to go after him. I say, just get out of this.
Well, I can tell you,
I mean, this is how you create the hatred toward us, is by people have to understand what blowback really is. And I'm a strong believer in blowback. There is a reaction, and it incites people who are already borderline in their thinking. So why do that? It's like poking at rattlesnakes and jumping into the snake.
Sure. Well, UN President
just has to.
UN President Trump agreed back in 2003, and I was anti-war, as you know. You were coming on at the time, pointing out why it was wrong to go into Iraq. They'd been our ally previous. And they were secular. I mean, one of the better regimes in the area, certainly not our business. Right. So Trump was right about that. You were right about that. His point is, we've got to get this Saudi Arabian expansion under control, or it will be an ongoing war and cause crisis. He wants to actually stamp it out, not go in and stir it up. He wants to kick it out of the West. And I do think that Trump is going to be militaristic and basically no limit when it comes to taking out the Islamic Jihad.
Well, cross your fingers on that one, I'll tell you. I don't think it has anything to do with national defense. I think that has to do with ego. And I think the sooner we realize that, the better off we're going to be. And we have to understand what the reason is. And Saudi Arabia, I mean, there's people, even the Secretary of State now is somewhat sympathetic to the Saudis. And the Saudis are the ones that we deal with. Our CIA deals with them, and they radicalized the Muslims to help defeat the Soviet system in Afghanistan. And then as time went on, they turned on us.
No, I get it. So
I think we should stay out of that. Yeah, we have to realize that is very, very dangerous. There's a lot of problems in the world, and I
understand you're a long-term thinker, and I respect that. You're a long-term thinker. Speaking of media attacks, you have been called basically a Russian agent. I have been called one. Trump has been called one. All these fake revelations have come out. None of them are true. It's totally made up, and that's how they passed that law to, quote, try to control U.S. media, is because, quote, the Russians are so powerful. They even claim now that Drain the Swamp and Crooked Hillary came from Putin with no evidence. What do you make of this? I mean, this is like McCarthy on PCP.
That was the word I was thinking about as you were saying that. It's McCarthyism. Yeah, they try to destroy people who come up with a messenger. Somebody called in when my name was on that list, and they were a little bit worried about it. And my staff said, no, that's good news. That's good news. We're on the right side, of them attacking us because they want to destroy us because they're afraid of the truth. We're telling the truth, and they have to close you down by demagoguing and lying about us. So I think there are healthy things. Right now, I think the best thing, and Trump's done a good job on this, is debunking, so much of the media. There's so little trust in the government, and that's why Trump won, and rightfully so. I think 70-80% of the American people don't even believe what government tells us, but they don't believe the major medias anymore. So I don't think we have to lecture them and say, oh, don't believe what the major media is saying. They don't believe it anyway, but we still have a long way to convince people of what the alternatives should be. And, of course, I try to be as precise as I can and as balanced as I can because I know it's against the rules if you identify as a Republican congressman that if a Democrat president does something halfway decent, you compliment on it. I happen to think it's a great idea that we can talk to the Cubans. And if that is canceled, I think that's a step backwards to the dark ages. I was drafted during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the longer we sanctioned Cubans and we pestered them like that, the longer Castro stayed in power. So it's time to get a life.
Well, no, your logic has been proven right, and President Trump's called you super smart. So I hope he'll confer with you and get some of your advice. Get some of your advice on this. In the few minutes we've got left, I want to speak about the nature of the division in this country. I went out to the so-called female march against Trump on Saturday in D.C. We let them have their march and didn't attack them. They attacked anybody trying to go into the Trump inauguration. The media's been caught lying about the numbers. It's just incredible. And I see the division. I was screamed at over 300 times that I was an effing white male by mainly white women. The Democratic Party has been turned so racist and so mind-controlled. I'm really worried about civil insurrection in this country. There's a big article out today in New Yorker magazine about that the elites are actually leaving the U.S. So I've been positive so far, but I just hope that Trump can unify the country. We can come together. As he said, don't conquer the world, with military, but have America be a shining city on the hill, that our ideas are what, basically spreads across the world. So do you have concerns about Soros and others that admit they're trying to fund civil war in America?
Well, I think it's not so much that people are sitting there and working on it, which I'm sure there are some that do that, but I think policies that we have designed, incrementally over the last 100 years, have worked us into this position because it's a failed system. Just as Mises lectured many, many years before communism failed, he explained why socialism always fails and communism would fail, and we didn't have to have a fight and a war with him. But the same rules apply to Keynesianism, interventionism, Federal Reserve inflationism, militarism. It fails. All empires end, and we're the empire. And it's going to end. It's going to be for economic reasons. It's not because the Russians are coming, and it's not going to be because the Chinese are coming, and the Iranians aren't going to get us, and we're going to fail because we're working with a failed system, especially in this century. In the last 17 years, it's been a disaster, and Trump was able to recognize this and go to the people who have suffered the most. But this is a monetary problem. This is a spending problem. This is a foreign policy problem, and that is what's going to bring us down. It's going to be financial, and it's going to be associated with horrendous increases in spending and also inflation. And yet we still have a policy where they deliberately try to devalue
In closing, how long do you think Trump has to try to reverse that, because we're so far down the road? I know he's making hundreds of calls a day to get jobs back. He does want to cut taxes. Yeah. He also wants to cut spending. I mean, what needs to be done to right the ship?
Well, I'll tell you what, he has a short amount of time, and I think he's sincerely trying. And when he talks about taxes and regulation, I think he's doing a great job. But the whole thing is, let's say there are some dire predictions that, in next year, or say a year and 18 months, we have something arriving worse than 2008 and 2009. The downturn is much worse. And they'll say, it's all Trump's fault, it's all Trump's fault. No, it wasn't. 08 and 09 wasn't Obama's fault. It was the fault of the Federal Reserve. It was the fault of the Keynesian economic model, the spending too much, the deficit. So, unfortunately, there's nothing he can do. Trump can't do it. He can help, by some of these policies, but you can't avoid the correction. The correction is locked in place because the deficits are there, the malinvestment. Everybody agrees.
That's right.
Interest rates have been too low, too long,
and that's why he's racing.
The only thing he can do is allow the recession to come and get it over with, liquidate the debt. Politically, nobody wants that, so you're going to see runaway inflation before you see this country wake up.
Dr. Ron Paul, thank you so much. We salute you. RonPaulLibertyReport.com. Thank you, sir.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run.
I'm going to have comments when I come back on this. This is a huge interview. Very important, folks. Stay with us. Paul Watson coming up as well. Thank you, Dr. Paul.
ABC has the first one-on-one interview with President Trump, and they are taking ownership of what should be public information, listing unprecedented restrictions on the publishing of that information. They're mandating on-screen credits, mandating that any excerpts must be introduced with an audio credit. They put limits on how long the excerpts can be. They put a time limit on how long material can be used. No material may be used after February the 1st. This is a desperate bid by ABC to circumvent freedom of the press and fair use. They're trying to take control of Trump's message, trying to monopolize it, both to monetize it and to spin it as they wish for political purposes, even banning future use of it. Extraordinary copyright claims and enforcement were a major problem with the TPP that Trump just shut down. And he should shut down this desperate attempt by ABC to try to copyright what the president says in interviews. That is not appropriate. For Infowars.com, I'm David Knight.
Over the years, there have been a lot of powerful advancements in the field of science and nutraceuticals. Longevity integrates years of scientific research into creating fantastic products like Beyond Tangy Tangerine, plant-derived minerals, and much more. Longevity also offers you an ingenious way to augment your income. And the best part, you will be helping your friends and family along the way. Visit InfoWarsTeam.com today. Become a member, get discounts on the amazing products, and free shipping when you sign up for AutoShip. And you're able to promote the products to friends and family and neighbors in your community and make money while helping people at the same time. Another win-win. That's why I'm a member of the Longevity team at InfoWarsTeam.com, and you can be too. It's simple. Just go to InfoWarsTeam.com today, complete a short sign-up, and you're part of the team. That's InfoWarsTeam.com or InfoWarsHealth.com. So many people call into my radio show and tell me how Longevity and the products at InfoWarsTeam.com have changed their lives. Check it out for yourself today. We're selling a product, DNA Force, that is the very best nutraceutical that we can produce. Dr. Group, you took years for you to develop DNA Force for us.
It's been something that I've been working on for a long time, Alex, because I think it's very, very important. What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying.
We chose the PQQ because it has over 175 different clinical trials. It's one of the most effective substances in the world. It works like an antioxidant. It works to repair nerve growth factor.
So this is a formula to deliver the maximum amount. It's in powder form.
We have so many 5-star reviews. I take this. This is the product that I take.
InfoWarsLife.com, and the profit we make, we fight the globals. We fight the New World Order. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
On the march. The empire is on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
If you like to gamble, I tell you how you man. You win some, lose some, it's all the same to me. The pleasure is to blame. Ain't no difference what you say. The only gun I need is the ace of spades. The ace of spades.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live, broadcasting worldwide. I'm your host, Alex Jones. Paul Watson's about to take over for the balance of the transmission. I'm working on some really, really big stories and a lot of things we're getting ready to launch. and so I've got to take care of some of that, but I will be obviously back tonight on the Nightly News and more, and back tomorrow. But it's great to have Paul Watson step in. He doesn't fill in. He steps in and does a great job. He is a titan now of resistance against the globalists, and it's so good to see him grow and get stronger and stronger. I hope to someday soon see a lot of people on the scene that are doing a better job than I do, because I want to defeat the globalists. And I'm here putting out the information, the intelligence, the facts that will beat them. Now, this is an addendum to Ron Paul that was just on with us. He has a very moral view of the world, and he does it from a purist perspective. The problem is there's a globalist program to turn radical Islam loose worldwide to basically take over the West, allied with the left, so that we have to adopt speech control or the, quote, Muslims will kill us. That's the plan. They'll take out the radical Islamist enemies, put them in place, let them enter Europe, enter Africa, enter Asia, and take over. Use them to attack Russia. They have to be dealt with. They've been turned loose. I've been anti-war because I knew it was part of a plan to stir the pot up. I could read the white papers written by the Project for an American Century, bipartisan neocons. I understand their plans. So I see Paul's perspective, and I'm not saying he's wrong in his purist position. But the globalists are going to go to China and others and build them up to go after us, and they're going to start provocations unless we're so strong there's nothing they can do, and they're totally dominated by the sheer will of our economy, the strength of our defense, and the power of our culture. And Trump's the man to deliver that and give us the new American millennium, not the new American century. Now, that's the plan. It's moral, it's strong, it's extremely virile and male, and it's total America. This is what John Wayne was an image of. John Wayne wasn't. John was a great guy. This is the real deal. And Trump is the real deal. You heard Paul earlier say, and he normally doesn't have compliments for people in power. He said, no, he's doing a great job trying to stop the country collapsing. No, he's doing the right thing. No, we're in a death spiral. We're in a meltdown crisis, and he doesn't think Trump can even save us. That's why Trump is on the phone. He doesn't even go on TV and tell you what he's doing. He knows. It's something about holding back the fact that he's really working so hard and just not even telling you and just letting you see the results. Hundreds of phone calls, dozens of meetings a day with business leaders saying it's all going to collapse if you don't start hiring people and paying them good and not ripping them off. Globalism is about making people poor and controlling them. This is a bunch of bull. And now it's all going to collapse, and then your money's not going to be worth anything, even though you'll have trillions of it, because the people are all going to want to kill you. And that's why all the globalists are running to the hills right now. That's in the news today. It's up on Infowars.com and DrudgeReport.com. U.S. elites buying New Zealand redoubts to escape crack-up of civilization. How long have you heard that? Now it's in the New Yorker magazine. Now it's in the New York Times. And I'm going to say something right now. I have mixed feelings about this, and I'm going to ask Paul Watson about this in a moment when I hand the baton to him. I want a D.C. bureau so we can have whistleblowers, on the street stuff, cover demonstrations, do interviews in our own studios. I don't so much care about sitting there asking questions of Spicer, even though that would get InfoWars in the news and get good questions in there. I haven't even asked yet for press credentials, and I know if we ask, we've been told we're going to get them. In fact, it's even been mentioned. Hey, how about Paul Watson as the White House correspondent? Lil Bird said that. Little Bird. Anyways, so that's a good nickname. That'd be the code name around here for the Little Bird. And baby parakeet, that's even better. A baby parakeet said that. So in this whole Twilight Zone situation, we don't need to be in Washington to like be bigwigs and all this. I can't stand it. But it's still seeing Trump, and I know he knows what he's doing. He's trying to get the New York Times and ABC to stop it. But they're owned by globalists that are at war with you, sir. They're not going to quit. So he gives the first big exclusive to ABC that's out to get him. Okay, maybe it's going to be a somewhat fair interview. Look at CNN. Spicer keeps going to CNN saying, no, maybe he didn't even win. Maybe he's not even president. Talk about fake news. These are the people that just a few days ago are still saying that Trump had almost no one at his rally, no one at his inauguration. Total lie. or that the bust of Martin Luther was thrown out the window. I mean, I would have said, hey, you don't get a question. You're fake news, just like Trump did. Follow the bosses. Lead Spicer. And Spicer's great, okay? I know you're a nice guy, Spicer, and I think you're doing a good job, okay? Since you've actually been in there, I'm impressed. I didn't like some of the softball stuff earlier. But to stop being so nice to these people. You're not going to get CNN on your side. You're not going to get MSNBC on your side. Do you understand that? It's crazy. So before I go to Paul and get his take on this and then I eject onto my next mission, we need your financial support now than ever. We'll put a bureau in New York, one in London, one in L.A. to cover what the enemy's doing, to dominate coverage. And we'll have a bigger effect and more reporters here. If people buy the products. I mean, we've got great water filters, great non-GMO heirloom seeds, open-pollinated, incredible nutraceuticals, incredible nanotech body armor that we're the exclusive. Only the Defense Department and state police have this. We've just been given the exclusive because the Patriots know we're Patriots. It's all available, InfoWarsStore.com. 10% off on DNA Force. It's now back in stock. Find out why it's so special. Get the products today. Get the Combat One. We're the exclusive distributor of the Department of Defense wide system that's been adopted. 12 years of research. As colloidal silver is one of the only other alternatives out there when stuff stops working, this is a new system that knocks it all out. Go read. This is unbelievable. Combat wipes, cleanup systems. It's got the wipes, it's got the gels, it's got just all of it. The full family of Combat One, exclusively available for InfoWars listeners. And we just started selling it. It is very affordable. There are no reviews yet, but we have the backpacks. We have all of it. A lot of new products. Your purchases there make everything we do possible. InfoWarsStore.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stress to you enough how important it is in this war to have money. Because, again, I'm a big national syndicated talk show host, and most guys would just have a webmaster, some people, do regular radio advertising, and I could live in a mansion and have a jet airplane. I don't want to live in a mansion or have a jet airplane, okay? I'm not saying you're bad if you do. The point is that's what the other 5 or 6 big rich talk show hosts, there's only a few other peers I've got, and my